Hi, friends. Bear with me. I'm trying out some new tech. Today, I wanted to introduce a concept to you, a tool to you. This is, I was told that the name of this technique is called Modified Genogram. I don't see how it is a modified genogram. A genogram is the way that we map out like a family structure. At some point, I'll do a live demo of creating a genogram because I do create a genogram on every family that I work with. Every person that I work with, I use a genogram to kind of pull their history and organize it. Because I'm a very visual person. And so this tool was introduced to me as modified genogram, but it doesn't seem at all related. Like a genogram might be more related to like an eco map or like a family tree or something like family orchard or a family constellation. But that's the name that I was told. So I'm going to describe it to you. So it's called modified genogram. And what you do is you list your, like you're going to make a column for each important person in your life that was involved in the development of you or should have been. So, a mom, mom, dad, stepmother, great grandparent, like whoever had like direct influence, even if that influence was the absence. So let's say that you on your genogram, you might have dad and you might have grandma, but you don't have mom because mom wasn't involved in the raising of you. So you would still create a column for mom. So it's sort of the important influencers of your early life. And then what you do is you list attributes of that person. So it could be physical attributes. They had brown eyes. They were tall. They had a loud voice. Sort of like attributes of them, like physically. And then other things, like anything else that you say is an attribute of theirs, like kind, thoughtful, angry, abusive, rude, entitled, two-faced, like whatever language you understand about each of those persons, and then you list them, if that makes sense. And so then, then you kind of get this comprehensive view of these other people and then their attributes. Then the consideration is, what of those things do I want for myself or are naturally a part of myself? Like, say, for example, they were tall. I may or may not want that about myself, but I either am tall or I'm not tall, right? So either it is me because like a physical attribute, like I have my dad's eyes. So, I've got his eyes. Or like attributes that I would want, like generous, thoughtful. You put a circle around the physical attributes that are you, and then the ones that the parts of like the more personality attributes, you circle the ones that you want. And then you draw a line through the ones that you don't want at all, or an X. And like, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be abusive. I don't want to be abandon my children, right? And so you end up with this sort of long list of all of the important people that sort of contributed to how you formed and where you got those, and what you attribute that to in terms of the important caregiver people, what you do want, what you don't want, or if you're like not sure, just put a question mark, right? So why is this a useful tool? One, any understanding of sort of how we came to be is useful. It has a lot to do with our belief schema, our belief about self. A belief about self and others and the world comes from these early templates that get laid in. So that's one thing, is just a general understanding of how you came to be, Another important thing is like, I've used that tool with somebody who's going through identity work. This could be, just we all go through identity phases. It's pretty heavy in the late teens to early 20s is a stage of life where we're doing a lot of identity work on ourselves just naturally. That's part of our development. That can be much more profound if some of those early things were difficult. So they abused alcohol, or they were, incarcerated multiple times, right? Those are things that you probably would put an X through because you don't want to have those attributes. But you can see kind of the influences of your life. And what that means for your shaping of your identity. So it's a way to kind of have agency over how your identity is shaping, instead of just like, I don't know how I came to be the way that I am. I had these influences. It's a little more direct causation, and I think puts somebody more in agency. So I think it's really good for identity work. I work with the adoption community quite a bit, and there is a complexity associated with identity overall as an adoptee, as a part of an adoptive family. There's like layers of maybe kinship, or being a transracial family, that all speak to our sense of identity. So working that out in the modified genogram, I think, is a really helpful tool. Another way that I have used this clinically is like, sometimes, rightfully so, we're very angry about a parent and the way that we were raised, the way that we were treated. And that's fine. Like, if you're angry, you're angry. Like, if, there's a clinician doesn't have an agenda for you in terms of whether you should or shouldn't feel angry or disappointed, or however you feel is just fine. Sometimes that can override seeing positive attributes in another person. So let's say that I had a client who was just very angry and disappointed and hurt by, an absent parent, let's say, for example. So they might put on their genogram absent, abandoned, doesn't care about their kids. But there can be elements of that person that is inside of my client. So let's say they were creative and they attribute their creativity to this parent who was absent. Like, if we don't find a way to highlight a positive attribute about somebody that was an important influencer, it can be something that gets like contaminated or ignored or not valued in yourself. So, it's helpful to be able to see sort of the whole picture of a person, even if you are angry with them, even if you hate them, to see sort of multiple attributes so that you don't end up hating something about yourself. So go back to my example of tall. Let's say the parent that was an absent parent is also tall and you're tall. I don't want you to hate the fact that you're tall. And if you feel compelled to hate the fact that you're tall because it came from this person, that's a problem. I don't want you to hate things about yourself. I mean, that's just like an example of like a physical attribute, but, we can generalize that to other things. Like, they weren't kind, they were like avoiding and dismissing, but they also like always remembered your birthday. Like, a more full understanding of another person is generally helpful. So if clinically it feels like that is something that my client could use, because let's say they hate parts of themselves that they attribute to the other, then I might use this modified genogram exercise to try to illuminate a little bit more. What do you do and what do you not want to have as part of your life, as part of your identity? And again, it puts you in agency. So, just because that person was tall and you're tall, you don't have to like it. But I just like that more fulsome exploration, if that makes sense. So that's the modified genogram. Give it a try. See what you come up with. I've seen it be an effective tool for, especially for, like I said, identity exploration. So give it a try. I'll see you guys on the next one.